Let's talk about this AI-generated image of Mr. Trump portraying himself as a healer. He later clarified that he was only depicting himself in that role. Honestly, that doesn't surprise me. There's a pattern, especially when figures around him make statements that blur the line between power, conquest, and moral authority. So, no, the image itself didn't shock me. But even if we take his explanation at face value, something about it feels off. Calling yourself a healer, symbolically or not, carries weight. And when I think about the real world consequences tied to Iran, ordinary people whose lives have been disrupted and in some cases lost, that contrast is hard to ignore. Now, let's consider the critics. Some were quick to say he was portraying himself as Jesus. I won't go that far. Intent is something only he, and more importantly, God truly knows. But for the sake of argument, let's assume that's what he meant. If that were the case, then these wouldn't reflect someone inspired by Christ. It would look more like someone trying to step into a place that doesn't belong to them. And that's a serious line to cross. But this is what really caught my attention. Even atheists are outraged. People who don't believe in Christ are still stirred by the idea that someone might be placing themselves in his position. That says something. It reveals that deep down there is an awareness of truth that cannot be erased. At the same time, I can't ignore another possibility that some of this outrage is not purely about conviction but reaction. For some, it may be less about the image itself and more about the man behind it, especially among those who never supported his candidacy in the first place. In that sense, the backlash may be as political as it is moral. And if that kind of energy exists, whether driven by conviction or opposition, then surely it can be redirected toward seeking Christ. Still, I'm not overly concerned with trying to prove anyone's intent. That's not my role. The one we are all accountable to already sees the heart clearly. To those who are outraged, I would say this: don't be shaken. Jesus is not pacing in heaven, he's seated in authority. And what he calls for is not panic, but obedience, faithfully sharing the gospel. At the end of it all, every one of us will stand before Christ, not as commentators or critics, but as individuals, either as sheep or as goats. So the question is, what will you do with this message?